Chasing the Rainbows with your host, Bernice Quisenberry.
On this week's podcast episode, it is called Intentions and Actions, Not Words. And it is with Bree and B. Hey, Bree.
Hey there.
Thanks so much for coming this week.
Of course.
We are, in honor of October's Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, discussing to help loved ones out there, the support systems, and also other survivors, of course, to know that we understand what you're going through when you return to society, hearing, what people have to say when they're first seeing you after our losses and all of those things.
Yeah.
So people write in all the time and ask us how they can support their children or loved ones who experience pregnancy and baby loss. We do help guide them. But what we're trying to do, like I said, is share with family, friends, colleagues, loved ones who are in your corner on how they can truly comfort survivors.
Yeah. And I think this is super important, a very, very good topic, because I know we get asked this a lot, and I think it's we've all, as baby loss survivors, have experienced those insensitivities that are well intentioned,
right?
But they don't always come across well.
I know, or received well, especially in those first weeks and months of grieving, right after our losses, because one, we don't have the bandwidth or the mental capability to really entertain what people are saying, or like really, have any kind of energy to say anything back.
Well, and it's such a taboo topic, so it's uncomfortable to begin with. And then, so I think some people, they say things that they think they're being helpful, but it's really not. But it's just because it's uncomfortable.
It is. And like you said, Bree, in our society, we do a really hard job because no one wants to hear about baby loss. It is really sad. It's devastating. So people, that's when these insensitivities come out.
Yeah.
And what I'm just really exhausted and frustrated with is that we have to look at people's intentions while like embracing their words instead of speaking out.
Yeah.
And I realized that a lot after we lost our daughter and returning.
Yeah, I think as hard as it is for them to find the right words, I think it's equally as hard to respond to their words.
Yes, you can't believe it.
No, well, and I think a lot of the times the things they say, like I remember one time at a grocery store, I had my oldest daughter. She was my only child at the time, and we had just lost a baby. And somebody said, "Well, at least you have a child."
Oh, yeah. That's
and like I kind of was dumbfounded. Like you kind of
in the same breath.
Yeah, I didn't know how to respond to that either.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah,
it can be very challenging.
That is definitely on our list because it's like yeah, we'll definitely
we'll go there.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go there. That's for sure. But it's just like, why do we have to look at intentions, right? So why not educate the public? Why not? Mm-hmm. This is like us being on here, opening the dialogue and trying to open people's eyes to talking about baby loss because it's happening a lot and it's common. So let's do this, let's all come together. And, having to keep things silent or quiet to not make others feel uncomfortable is ridiculous too, right? Especially when we're trying to heal and we're trying to process and do all of this. And, this needs to be talked about. And if I want to share pictures of my dead baby, or if others want to share it on social media, because that's part of our healing, we should be able to do that without being ridiculed or people saying negative comments like, why would you do that? I'm sorry you feel uncomfortable, but instead, why don't you support me and support what I'm doing?
Yeah. Because
they're beautiful. And that's all we have left of our babies.
Yeah, I totally agree. We had pictures taken of our 2 stillbirths, and I posted them on social media.
Yes.
And, they're my child.
Exactly. 100%.
Really. And I think that's the thing, like looking at it, and I'm sure people were uncomfortable with it, but keep on scrolling.
That's exactly. Don't say anything.
Don't say anything.
If you have nothing else to say, don't say anything at all. Then.
And I agree. And I think it's just, that was one of my ways of coping and just sharing my child with the world, because they mattered and they're my child. So I'm going to share them.
Yes. And they are living beings. So they deserve to have the recognition.
Exactly.
Right. Everybody else posts pictures of their children all day long. Why can't we post ours?
Agreed.
Yeah.
100%.
So I'm sorry that people clam up. Sorry people get awkward. But I mean, this just needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
So one of the hardest things after we lost our baby was returning to work to society, and that was with other people. People would ask me how I was doing, and were like hoping I would church it up and just say like pretty good or okay. But instead, like I would break down at the beginning and say like horrible or like I'm not doing good. Like we just lost our daughter a couple weeks ago because we're expected just to have 3 days of grieving outside of any medical leave you might have left, or if you got any, you know. But it's like.
Yeah.
Hello, we miss our baby.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, especially in those early, like stage 1 of grieving, stage 2, anytime somebody said, how are you doing?
Yeah.
More often than not, I would just start crying.
Yes.
Because that's how I felt. Like, that's how I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm devastated.
Absolutely. And crying is a normal response to grieving. Like we just lost our babies, our child. Like parents do not outlive their children. And when this happens, we are just devastated. Yeah. And it's like people don't know how to handle that because it makes them feel uncomfortable. I've had people even tell me, you know, oh, you better not cry. Like you're in work. You shouldn't cry. Like go into another room. And it's like, oh no, like maybe I'm sorry that you feel that way, but I'm good with it.
It's about them. It's because they're uncomfortable with the crying.
It is.
It's definitely not you. It's
this
them.
is not unprofessional. This is me being a human being.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah, it is that. But the best thing that, and you know, we're going to get into this, but the best thing a person can do is just listen and embrace that survivor wherever they are at emotionally for that day. And especially if you're going to go up and ask them how they are doing, because if you're going to take that leap and do that, and just don't do it to be the arbitrary, how are you? Because you feel obligated to do it because you're going to bump into them. Be expected then to be there to just be a listening ear for them.
Yeah. And if you can't do that, then just say, I'm here for you.
Right.
Just go up, instead of saying, how are you? Just go up, hand on the shoulder. I'm here for you.
Right.
And then, you know, walk away or whatever it is. But I think it's also important, survivors, to communicate as well. So like one thing I wish I would have done better with my workplace is if I'm having a particularly difficult day, letting my boss know, hey, today's one of those days. Like I am just feeling emotional. I'm really mourning the loss of my baby. I'm just in a really negative headspace today. And like, more often than not, they're going to give you some space or like, you know, sympathize with you or you would hope. I know.
Depending on your industry.
Depends on how lucky you are. But I think communicating or like forget work. Like let's talk about in your own home. Like, you know, I think one thing, especially with my daughter that I had at the time, I would kind of lash out at her and be short fused with her and stuff instead of just being like, honey, listen, Mommy is having a really sad day today. Like I'm really missing Emma. I'm really missing Landon today. I'm sorry if my mood's not the best today. I just wanted to let you know this is where I'm at. And like just communicating that with the people around you, I think is a really good idea because then they can kind of rally around you and give you more of what you need.
I think it is hard though, just because like
it is hard.
Isolating yourself like more like by doing that, I feel like then I'm feeling even like weaker. Does that make sense?
Oh
so,
yeah.
Like,
well, it does. It takes. And I think that's probably why I didn't do it.
Right, because I'm like that's why I didn't do it either.
Yeah, but I think it's it would be beneficial.
I think you're right.
If you can find the guts and the, you know,
the guile to
do it.
Yeah.
I think you will find that those around you who know you best will respond in a positive way.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you know, something like having an older child too, is that now our children learn to be these compassionate, sympathetic, empathetic children because they got to see us grieve.
Yes.
And what's a beautiful thing is, you know, when we were growing up, like it was kind of like, oh, you only grieve to the funeral and then like you continue to move on with life and like it's just part of life is loss, right? But with this situation, I feel like, you know, nobody in my family went through this, that this gave the opportunity for them to see what it's like to actually grieve, but in a healthy way. Like these things are all normal. Like
it's
if
okay
we're irritable,
to have,
it's okay.
Yes.
It's part of grief. Like, because we can't control like our emotions and things like that when we're going through the grief process.
Right.
Like it's an automatic response.
Yep.
We can like how we react to things, sure, but not how our body is just gonna do things. Does that make sense?
No, total sense. And I agree. I think definitely helped our oldest daughter
Yes.
to have sympathy for
Yes,
others,
yes.
and just watching us walk through this grief,
Yes.
I think really helped her.
Right. And I think that, if nothing else out of it.
Yeah.
For sure. Just so listeners out there, just give yourselves grace. I know. I'm like, oh gosh, it just takes me right back there. But I feel like, when people aren't embracing us, when people aren't, showing that support and things like that in the way that we need it, right? Like just being an ear to listen, things like that. It makes us feel worse. And like about us being authentic and genuine in the space that we're at then.
Yeah.
And for me, I had really struggled with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you can't control your grief response in public. Like others need to be okay with it. And truly, showing your emotions, it's okay. Like if it happens at the grocery store, if it happens there, who cares? Like, I mean, you lost your baby.
Well,
Yes.
I mean, and a lot of it, usually it's triggered because I see a pregnant person or a young
Absolutely.
baby or something. But I have cried through aisle 9 multiple times at the grocery
Yes.
store.
Yes.
Or the baby aisle.
Yes.
Like
you pass it.
Yes.
You're not missing it in the grocery store.
No. And
Yeah.
and I definitely, I think grace is definitely something you need to give yourself, because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
And if you cry in public, you cry in public.
Yeah.
And, it's just,
Yeah.
it is what it is, and it's part of the process.
And I feel like our society could really learn from it. To be
Oh,
honest.
100%.
Yeah,
For sure.
Honestly. And, I'm like, we're 2.5 years out from our loss, and I still have to deal with people's comments. Brie, I know you feel it.
I feel it.
Yeah,
I sure do.
100% to this day.
Yep.
And
Cringe.
yeah, it's like things like, to give like our losses, like people say things because they want to give them a silver lining.
Yes.
And there just is no, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about this, Brie, but in my opinion, there is no silver lining to losing a baby. There just
No.
isn't. Like, why is an innocent life taken so early
Yeah.
in pregnancy, in baby loss, like anything? Like, it doesn't matter what stage of the game it's at. It's just how.
Yeah, it's pain. I think
Yes.
pain is pain, and I do find purpose in my pain, but it's still pain.
Exactly. And like, especially when you're first going through it,
Yeah.
right? And those first couple years,
yeah.
and all of that, it's like, oh my goodness, it takes time takes time.
Yeah.
And so like we said earlier, when a parent outlives their child at any age, it's hard to hear certain things. And because like, we're still like, I'm on a lifelong grieving process.
Absolutely.
We're always going to think about our children. We're always going to wonder what they're doing. Like all these like hopes and dreams we have, they don't just go away.
No, and you're always going to, imagine your child would be this age now, and they would be doing
Yes.
this right now. Maybe they'd be playing soccer, and maybe they'd be in 2nd grade. And, I have family and friends who have children the same age that would have been Emma and Landon. So I often, when I see them, I think, oh my gosh, like Emma and Landon would be this age right now, and
Yes.
they would be doing this. And so it's a lifelong journey, and it's just, it has its challenges. And I still, even though I'm 8 and 10 years out from Emma and Landon, like I still have days where I just miss them. I mean,
Yes.
I miss them every day, but like there's days
Absolutely.
where it takes me down.
Yep.
And the grief like kind of brings me to my knees some days still.
Absolutely. And I was talking the other day, and I was at this speaking engagement, and it was all around pregnancy and infant loss awareness. And somebody asked me, and they did this because they really truly wanted to understand it. They said, I have never been through pregnancy or infant loss, but can you explain it to me? And what's interesting is I said, yes, I will. So they, at the time, that person, and specifically had 3 children. Now, anybody listening in, if you have other children, nieces, nephews, do the same kind of concept with that. But envision like, you guys are all at the beach for the summer. There's your 3 kids playing at the beach, like all in the sand. Take one of your children and make them a silhouette, and they're just a dream. So those memories that you actually have is just a dream, and you're just visualizing them playing with your other 2 kids, how they would be interacting, what age they would be, and what they would look like, what they would be doing. And then also doing it, for the first day of school pictures that you're getting done. The holidays, when you're sitting there and they're all opening up their presents, you have the silhouette of a child child doing that. But that's how someone who's never been through it to kind of know what it's like is to take one of them and just make them a silhouette instead of actually having them physically
beautiful.
there.
That's so beautiful.
Yes.
I love that vision.
Yes.
That's so beautiful.
Because that is the best way that you can do it. Not that I wish anything happens to anybody's child, but that is what a baby survivor goes through for the rest of their life.
Yeah, I think
in
that's
all these major events and not major events. It's just even the daily mundane life. It's we don't know when it's going to pop up, and we're going to think about them.
I love that visual. I think it's a perfect visual to explain, like, as somebody who doesn't understand.
Yes.
That's a great way to explain it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks, Brie, for that. I appreciate it. Yeah. And it's like, so, one of the biggest things for me that people said, and we're going to jump in now to these insensitivities. Everything happens for a reason. And I'm sorry, I'm laughing not because it's funny. It's not funny because I still get this to this day. It's because I just can't believe this ridiculousness comes out of people's mouths sometimes. Sorry, Brie. But I mean, and great. If another baby loss survivor wants to believe that, great. Please do. Don't let us hold you up from that. But when that comes out of someone's mouth that's never been through a baby or pregnancy loss, to me, it's like, what is the reason behind my baby dying?
Yeah. It's hard. And I think you start to question things like, why did this happen? And, and just saying everything happens for a reason. Well, what's the reason? Like, and you can take that different ways, I suppose, but
we're going to break it down more.
Yeah, and I think to me,
people give me,
it goes back to the whole. Well, it's pain.
Yes,
and you can find purpose in that pain, like I said before. But like it is, I think early on, especially when somebody says that,
yes,
and you're at the stage where you're really longing for answers.
Yes,
and someone says it happened for a reason, and you're just like, that's just like a knife, only because, and again. That can go different ways of like, what does that mean? But to me, when you're in that stage of longing,
yes,
that's probably the worst thing to say because you don't have a reason.
Yeah.
And you're looking for something tangible in that moment.
Yes.
And that's just another reminder that you don't have that tangible answer.
100%. And, exactly. That is what it goes back to. And then, that kind of goes hand in hand with like, God has a plan. Now, it's not that I, personally, do believe in God. However, or higher power, whatever you want to say, believe in nature, whatever it is for yourself, that's great. I did, though, question our higher power a lot when we lost Brooke, because I said, why would my innocent baby be taken? Why would that happen? Why would you do this to me? As like, what I went back to, like, how did this happen? Like, why? And like, I put a lot of anger towards.
Yeah. Which I think is 100% normal. I think that's probably, with Landon, the loss of Landon, I was so mad at God.
Yes.
Like, I really was like, why is this happening to me?
Yes.
Like, why would you allow this to happen? And,
Right.
It in turn has actually led me down to a deep root of faith. And, I'm, deeper in my faith now than I've ever been. So that has come out of that. But like in that moment, I definitely was like, God is supposed to be good. Everything is good. How is this good?
Yes.
In that moment, I was definitely questioning and mad and angry. And I think it's completely normal. And there's no shame in that. We're supposed to, come as we are. And, and God wants all of our emotions, not just our happy ones. So I think for me, I found that avenue as I was working through.
Right.
But it's definitely challenging when you're in the very beginning stages of that. And
100%.
And you're like, what is this plan? Like, what is happening right now?
And
like,
you're questioning everything.
Yes,
you're questioning your whole
absolutely.
entire life, all of your beliefs at this point. But also, this is like assuming that the person believes in God. Like, you can't make that assumption that people automatically believe in God. Like, you don't say those kind of comments. If you do, great. But that's not something to say to somebody.
I think that just, I think it just comes back to being sensitive to that person. Meet them where they're at.
Right.
And I think that's part of that is, if they're not open to hearing about that or hearing that comment, I think just meeting them where they are is really important because that's the only way you're going to help dig them out of the hole they're in.
I know. Or just being that listening ear,
Yeah.
honestly, and letting them
Let them talk.
Yeah,
Just
and they'll
listen.
tell you.
It can be really hard. And what is that whole saying? Like, God gave you one mouth and two ears for a
Yes,
reason. Like,
yes.
listen more than you talk.
Yes.
And I think that goes back to
You take the cotton ball out of your ears and put them in your mouth.
Exactly. Yes.
And like just sit there and listen, you
Yes,
know?
for
So
sure.
it's so true. And you know, okay, this is another one. Miscarriages mostly occur because there's something wrong with your baby, like developmentally or medically is what people say. And people have said this out loud. And it's like, just if my baby had something wrong medically or developmentally, I would still want my baby. I would take care of my baby.
Absolutely.
Like, okay, what does that mean then that my baby deserved to die?
Yeah, right. They
what are you
weren't
trying to
worthy
say
of living
here?
because
Yeah.
there was something wrong. Yeah, that's a hard one, and it also comes back to the science of they don't most of the time. I don't know what the number exactly is, but they don't actually know what's wrong.
They don't know, and they don't know what causes it. So,
Yes.
like, we'll never get these answers. So,
Yeah. So to
this
say
goes right back
something
to that.
was-
and do you know?
Yeah,
Like, did you
right.
say that because you know this?
So that's another, and that's what
Like-
makes it insensitive. Is like you're
Yes.
assuming that there
Assumption.
was
100%.
Yes,
You
don't
know
assume.
assumption. I know. I know, and I won't say that on air, but everybody, you know what that means.
Do you know what that means?
Yes.
But I think that's the thing, and it's so true because I'm sorry if there was something wrong. I'd rather have my child here with me and love them and take care of them,
and
embrace
take care
their
of them. Yes.
disability,
100%.
than to not have them here at all.
And that choice is taken away from us.
Yeah.
Like we weren't able to do
Right,
that. You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Yep.
Like we weren't able to take care of them and do that. So yeah, I just okay. Here's another one. Okay, I'm just gonna breathe.
blood-
for
I know,
this.
I was gonna
know. Like, oh
Like our
gosh, this
blood
one, I'm
pressure,
like,
I'm sweating.
I swear, I
I'm
know.
sweating.
These do cut like a knife, though. I'm sitting here and I'm getting amped up. I'm feeling spicy and bitey from all these comments. Oh my gosh, this takes me right back. I think miscarriage isn't as bad as stillbirth. I think stillbirth isn't as bad as knowing your baby, and I don't think that losing a baby is as bad as losing a child that was a toddler or of older age. Okay, why are we comparing? Why are we okay? I'm sorry. Do you know this because you lost a baby, or you lost? First of all, you had a miscarriage, you had a stillbirth, you had a baby loss, you had a child that died,
And
when
you
they were
weighed them all
toddler.
against each other.
Yeah, and then now you're telling me this because like that to me, Bree, you just want to take it. 'Cause
Well, no.
I'm like on a
Take a breath, girl.
Yeah, I got
Take
to.
a breath.
I got to.
I always say it. A loss is a loss is a loss. It's
Yes,
a
you
loss
do.
of a child.
is.
It's a loss of a dream. It's a loss of a person that you love deeply that was connected to you.
Correct.
I
Your life plans.
yes, everything.
shattered.
And to be honest, the people I hear this from the most, and it's not really comparing, but I hear a lot of people who have known what I've gone through, and they'll be like 6 weeks along and they lost one. They're like, well, it's nothing compared to what you went to. And I'm like, stop right there.
I know.
Stop.
I know. You're right.
And it's like they're trying to, I don't want you to minimize your child because they weren't as far along as mine.
Exactly.
Like, why would you do that? Because it's still your
Yes.
child. It's still the hope, the dreams.
Right.
Like, it drives me insane.
Yes.
Please don't do that.
Yes,
Your
don't
child
minimize
matters
it.
no matter
Yes.
what. I don't care if they're 4 weeks gestation or 6 months old.
Yes.
Like, it's your child, and
Yes.
and there should be no comparison.
No,
at all.
absolutely not. But if you're also doing that though for self-preservation, or you're doing that to protect yourself, or
Yeah.
you're doing that for your own healing, please do. Like
Yeah.
but don't feel the need to do that exactly. Like when you're going up to someone else that you know their story, you know they've
Yeah.
had reoccurring losses, you know that they had an infant that died, because it's all so tragic.
Well, and unfortunately, people do compare. So I
Yes.
feel like,
yes,
you know,
and that comes from a place.
if I know
comes from
somebody is gonna look at me like, you were only 6 weeks, like, do you know what I went through? You know what I mean?
Oh, right,
And
right.
I
think
could
we need
see
to do better as a
myself
society.
saying we do need to do better, and I
Yeah.
feel like you do that, and it's to protect yourself. You know,
Yeah.
you're trying to protect yourself from what that
Right.
person might say to you.
Right.
So you kind of minimize it ahead of time.
It's
So-
armor.
yes, it's armor.
Because
It's
of what
another way to protect
happens.
yourself.
And it's probably because they were already told by somebody else,
Yes.
either unfortunately in medical situations too, in those, when these things are happening, depending on what kind of medical team you have,
Yeah.
some people are just brush under the rug and keep going. Like, you can try again soon, or, okay, well, you were early along. Like, don't make a survivor feel like that ever, and let them, like,
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Like, we need to
Yes.
count to 10 here.
Yeah, I think we do too. Sorry, Brie. Yeah, I think my ears and my cheeks are red right now, but
I am so
yeah,
sweating.
seriously. But no, it is just, listen, a loss is a loss, like
Yeah.
a loss, like you said, Brie. It's all of that. It's everything gets shattered from the parents' perspective, and we are just here for
And
all of you wherever you're at.
And honestly, like, a lot of this stuff I have done, I've said, I'm totally like throwing it out there. Like, I've done it, I've said it. And a lot of it was before, prior to my losses.
Right.
And so, like, we're not here to shame anybody or that
100%
you're
not.
saying or doing this stuff because guilty, like, as charged. I've done it.
Until you live it, you don't know.
But this is why we're talking about it, because this is an informative,
Dialogue.
session that we're talking
Open.
about, and we're trying to avoid future occurrences,
Yes.
right? And educating people on how to handle situations. And we're, there's more education out there, and we're just
We
diving
have it on
into
our website. We do.
We do, yeah. And
We have
we're
the do's and don'ts.
we're just diving into a couple here, just
Yeah. And like you said, until we became baby loss survivors, do we know how to handle this? Were we perfect at it? 100% not.
No,
and
still
are we
not.
still? Yeah,
No.
exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's just like, let's talk about that. And opening that dialogue
Yeah.
and keeping this going is really important.
And this
just
is
to
a
help
good
support.
Yeah, this is a good talk too to. If somebody says, I don't know what to do for you,
Yes,
here,
or what
listen
to
to
say.
this.
Yes, or
Yeah,
what to say. Like,
throw
here
us
you
at
go.
them.
Yes,
Like, yeah.
yes. Okay, so this also, you already kind of touched on this. Like, it was just a miscarriage. Like, your baby wasn't developed yet.
yeah.
Like, this makes survivors, if somebody says this or makes these kind of comments in a medical facility situation, a medical office, or out in public, or with family and friends, like, that makes me feel silly, crazy for, like, grieving these losses. And then it makes me even shut down even more, like, in my turtle shell, and feel isolated and alone, because, like, I shouldn't say these things, and then it silences me.
Yeah, well, yeah, because you people have already minimized it for you.
Yes.
So you're like, why do I feel this way? Or I have no right to cry about
Right.
this because of what
Or
they're
need
saying.
days or weeks,
Yeah.
months, years to grieve. Like, yes, do it. Like,
Yep.
however you need to.
Yep, totally agree.
Yes, yeah. So you can try again. You're young. At least you got pregnant. Okay. When
Yeah.
somebody says that to me, at least you got pregnant. Yes, I am grateful that I got pregnant. Do not say that in the same breath about my baby loss, because they're two different things. So, yeah, I got pregnant, but my pregnancy ended in a loss. It did not end in me getting my baby and taking my baby home.
Yeah.
So that, at least you got pregnant. Okay, two different things. I'm not blessed because I got pregnant because I lost my baby.
Yeah. Yeah, that's hard. And
That is a tough one.
That is a tough one, because I've had infertility, and I know a lot of people have had infertility, and that is such a journey to be on, a very challenging journey. And I just I realize that getting pregnant,
Yes, is not easy for everybody.
no, I
course not.
understand that, but like you said, to say that in the same breath of
Yes. It's that
the
comparison.
it's
again.
the it really is, like, it's another level of comparison. Like,
Yes.
you're comparing early miscarriage to stillbirth, you're comparing stillbirth to babies who were just born. It's just another level of
Yes.
comparison, and that's
should not be in the same breath.
No, I agree.
Because they're two different experiences. They're two different things. Apples and oranges here, people. And it's like, don't bring those up, because the person is not feeling blessed and lucky because their baby is not here.
Yeah.
So yeah. You will have another baby. And that's also assuming
with
that
their
they
crystal
wanna
ball?
have- I know.
that
Well,
their
one
crystal
you
ball they got?
assume. Well, and who knows what procedure they had done
Yeah.
because of their baby passing, like pregnancy or infant. Like, can they have another? You don't know that, first of all.
Or do they want to?
Do they want to go through that? Because pregnancy after loss is so
my gosh.
horrific. I mean, I don't want to scare any survivors on here, but that anxiety and angst, because
Yes.
now we know, before we became a baby loss survivor, pregnancy loss survivor, whatever you want to say, like, it was, okay, we know the dangers that can happen. Every pregnant woman does. But then once you live it, you are now that statistic. And now you know more than anybody that these losses can happen because it already did to
Yeah.
us. So don't make that assumption.
No, I agree. And I We had our rainbow baby, Claire. But I feel like had we not had her, because we came to the end of our ropes really, and we were done. Like,
I know you guys were.
And it was just, I could not mentally, physically, or emotionally handle trying to have another baby. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I think we need to be sensitive to that, because once you lose a baby, there's so many emotions that go into that.
Yes.
And like the thought of trying again is quite literally exhausting.
Yes.
And I think just you got to be sensitive. That comment is speaks to that how insensitive that is, just because you don't know. You don't know what journey they've been on.
Yes.
You don't know what it took to get to have that baby, to conceive.
Yes.
You don't know what emotionally they're experiencing, working through the loss. If they physically had trauma during the pregnancy, that they physically cannot have a baby again.
Yes.
There's just so many things that, and that's where
it's
that
physical, mental trauma. It's all of it, like emotional trauma. Like how, like,
yep.
Yeah, you can't make that. You don't know.
And again, assumptions.
Yes, assumptions is right. Yes. Yeah. Oh, and then this one. At least you have other children. Okay, now.
Hold on, let me take a breath.
Yes. Now you need to breathe. So each child is different. Each pregnancy is different. It's like someone saying that two of their children, they're the exact same person, the exact same kid. Like there's no differences there. They are just the same exact kid. Every child is different. And so, yes, I am blessed to have a child, but that doesn't mean that I am blessed that I lost my baby. Like,
I'm sitting here tearing up.
Oh my gosh, you are. I look over, I'm like, oh no, don't do it. Oh, don't do it.
I just, okay.
Right. Yeah.
This was a hard one for me, because I loved my daughter Ella very much.
Right.
But that didn't take away the longing we had for another child.
Agreed.
We wanted another baby so bad.
Yes, so bad. Oh,
sorry.
No, oh my gosh, no. Let it out. Cry it out.
Cry it out loud.
Cry it out loud. Yes.
Oh, that one got to me, because I remember getting that comment and like,
gosh, yes.
Yeah, I love my daughter, but gosh, we knew our family wasn't complete.
No.
Like, we wanted another child so bad.
Oh my gosh.
And like, and when they would
Everything you
say that,
endured for it.
it almost made me feel like I didn't appreciate Ella.
Correct.
Like, when you say that, at least you have a child. Like Ella wasn't good enough. Like, yes, she's good enough. Like, and if that's, God's plan that we only have one child, okay, like, we'll work through those emotions.
Right.
But like, that didn't mean that I needed another child to replace, or to like, I don't know.
It was like making up for like something that Ella was lacking. That was not the reason. The reason being, okay, first of all, like, okay, so we're only supposed to have one child and that's it? No, who are you to make that decision for me?
Yeah.
Like, if I want to have 5 children and during that time I endure these losses, okay, well, I know I want to have these 5 children.
Yeah.
That does not make me any less grateful or love any children less.
The ones you have.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
That's
is
that
so-
comment.
Oh, Bree,
that's a tough one for me.
Oh, yeah. No. It's understandable. These are all tough. I'm just like reading these, and it takes me right back
They're
there because,
triggering,
well, and
very.
honestly, these still happen. Like we said, I'm 2.5 years out. I'm still meeting people and talking to people for the first time, or, especially when I go through my numbers of my children that we have, and I'm like, one's our guardian angel, and she would be this old. Like, the look on people's, and then these insensitivities come out, and it's like, oh, okay. But now I'm at a point where I can start to, I feel like, advocate for other survivors by educating people. That's not what you say to somebody, and
Here's
I do
what
it
you
in a
should
very
say.
comfortable manner.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it too
and
is
unemotional. Like, I mean, sometimes I am emotional, but it's not like in an angry state or anything. Like if I was at beginning in my grief process,
and a lot of it's just ignorance. They just don't know.
They
So
don't.
let's educate, and that's the whole goal here, is to
Yes.
educate people on
Yes.
how do you respond to comments like that.
Oh my goodness, yes. I remember this came from like, oh my goodness, someone close to me actually. How long will it take for you to get over your loss?
Never.
Wow, that's exactly right. And I was like, oh my goodness. Or how long until you feel comfortable? So with our rainbow baby, how long are you going to go through all this anxiety and all these like things with your pregnancy the whole time.
Why are they putting a time frame
Right.
on
Why
it?
are we? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball like you said.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know these things. So why do people ask?
Well, and I think that goes back to they don't understand that it is a
Yes.
lifelong journey.
Yes.
Because you're asking somebody to put a timestamp on their grief.
Yes.
And there is no, and that's really any grief.
Right.
Like
Correct.
there's no time frame.
No. If I could control it, I wouldn't be
Do
crying
you think
in
I
public.
like to sit here in aisle 9 and
Yes.
cry?
Yes.
Do you think I enjoy?
looking vulnerable? Like,
Yeah.
now I'm not saying because you're not vulnerable crying. That's the thing. Like, our society needs to change that. That's what I'm trying to get at. But I felt so vulnerable crying because
Yes.
people made me feel that way because they
Yes.
were not embracing. They were not gentle about it. And we need to be, because you don't know what people are living through or what they're going through on a daily basis or what they're fighting inside. You
Yeah.
have no idea. And like, instead of judging people, like, we need to be non-judgmental
Yeah.
and just either embrace or just, give them a kind, like, pat, or like if you ever want to talk, you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
Like, don't make it a thing. Don't stare at them. They're not like something to be stared at. They're not a
Right.
freak show. Like, this is normal reactions
Yeah.
to grief.
Yep. And I think the more we can desensitize people to
Yes.
that,
to seeing people have these reactions because they're normal.
Mm-hmm.
It just, yeah. Oh, okay. It wasn't meant to be. Like, well, my baby was real and definitely meant to be because we were trying.
Right.
And we
And
wanted
they-
a baby.
they were- yeah,
Yeah,
they
and
were living
here.
inside
They
of
were
me.
living.
Yep.
100%. They were living beings. Tragedies happen. Hardships happen. And that's what exactly happened. And we'll
Yeah.
never get those answers. We'll never know why these things happened 100% or what the reasoning or cause behind it was. So, no, my baby was meant to be.
Yeah. I think it goes back. Yeah, the whole like,
Yeah.
everything happens for a reason, and or wasn't meant to be. I feel like those go hand in hand because it's like, oh, well, then what? What is the reason? And I totally agree. I mean, that's just a very insensitive thing to say.
It is. It's completely insensitive. But that really, that gave about 10 to 15 of them that we've been through just to kind of educate, advocate,
Yeah.
get it out.
Yep.
Right. But so the support systems out there, right? We do guide, like I said, if they reach out to us on our website, or survivors, that's how you reach out to us too for our support system, services and everything. We'll get you set up immediately. But the support system, just be that listening ear and refer them to a support group of survivors like us.
Yeah.
And that understand what they're going through, can sympathize, empathize,
Come alongside, make you
yes,
feel
just
less
be
crazy.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yes. Because we need to life together. Like, as we return to society and being out in public and being around people. And, survivors, like, my piece of advice is to you, and then we're going to get into just a little bit for the support system, what they actually can do then too, just a little more specifically. But survivors, what I did was, with my insensitivities, I was given this advice to write them down as they were happening. And then I ripped them up aggressively, crumpled them up in a ball and threw them. But you write down those insensitivities that people say. Now, others I've heard burn them, put them in a fire pit, put them in a fireplace in a safe manner, of course, but or scream them into a pillow, hold them up, and yell those insensitivities that people say when you get home, because it's hard to process them when they actually come out of someone's mouth. And I obsessed about it. I can't believe this person said it to me. And it would take me a day or two because it made me feel horrible about myself for actually grieving the loss of our baby.
Yeah. And I think with doing that, it's kind of a release. You're releasing their words. Their words have no hold on you anymore.
Yes.
And I think that's the whole goal of that, is to, take those insensitivities that have
Yes.
hurt you, and you're, by physically crumbling them or throwing them in the fire, you're saying, okay, these words are no longer going to hurt me.
Yes.
They're not going to hold me down anymore. I'm going to move forward.
Right.
So I love the beauty in that. That's great.
Yes, absolutely. So the actions that support systems can do. Take the family a meal without even asking.
Yeah.
Just drop it off. Make sure that they're home, of course. You don't want to leave it out for hours and stuff like that. But, but do that, a casserole, a lasagna, something, or, be cognizant of allergies. But
Yeah. No, I think that's a great idea, because cooking is just not something they're going to want.
It is.
I mean,
Not
you
at
barely
all.
get out of bed. You can't cook a
No.
meal, but
you have no
a lot of these are
capability.
great too. A lot of these too, and I have found, and I've had people do this, and a lot of people ask, a lot of people can I bring you a meal? But I've also had people who kind of know better,
Yes.
and they just say, hey, Thursday around 5 p.m., are you home? I'm bringing you a meal.
Yes.
Just don't give them the option.
100%.
Just say it, because like they don't want to have to, because then you feel guilty about like, oh gosh, I don't want to like inconvenience anybody.
Right. Or like, yes, go out of their way.
So I think with all of these that you're about to list of things that people can do to be helpful,
yes.
I feel like you just kind of, within parameters, obviously,
Yes.
just do them.
Yes, and even do it or if it's going to be like immediately after the loss, some other people are going to be bringing them food too and probably dropping it off. So make sure that it's freezable, or
Meal train.
Yeah, meal train is perfect too for somebody to set that up, and then people just get assigned to the day and time. Then let the survivor know when you're going to be stopping by with the food, so they know the calendar and everything. But also too, like a month or two out, that's when meals too, because we're still in the midst of our grief, and that's when people kind of fall off.
Yes,
and they don't want to,
Do you know what the best thing that ever happened? Not the best thing. That's a little traumatic.
No,
but
no,
the best, most comforting thing that happened to me after we had Emma, I'll never forget it. I had a friend who waited to send me a card till 2 months later.
Yep.
Because I'm telling you, you're in the beginning,
Yep.
there's this attention, people are
Flowers,
coming at you,
cards.
flowers, everyone's
Yep.
coming at you. All of that fades away.
Yes.
And you're left lonelier than ever, because
Right.
now all those people that were like coming around you have moved on with their lives.
Yep.
And your world is still standing still.
Yep.
I got this card 2 months after, and it couldn't have been the more perfect timing.
Yes.
Like, it meant so much to me, because they went through a loss and they said, I know what you're feeling right now, and I know you need support more than ever.
Yes.
And I'm like, and I now
it's
try to
quiet.
do that, because I know it meant so much to me.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, with any kind of loss, it
Yeah.
is that like after a month and a half, 2 months,
Yeah.
things start to calm down, quiet down. And that's when you need the most support, because honestly, those first couple weeks, you're in that whirlwind. And for me, I was in the shock and numbness
Yeah,
phase.
absolutely.
So like I was still like, in that and not really knowing outside of it, you know? So that is the great advice. Yeah, Brie. Grocery delivery, grocery pickup, or taking them a grocery gift card, because grocery shopping is so hard because you get triggered during it.
Yep. Yeah, the whole scene, pregnant people are walking through that
yes.
aisle of the baby stuff.
And you have to do it. You need food in the
Yes,
house,
right.
especially if you have other children.
Yep.
Also, if they do have other children, taking the other kids to
Yes.
the after-school activities, picking them up from school, but taking them out for ice cream, doing mini golf, taking them
Yes.
to the movies, just getting the kids out and doing fun activities with them for the parents to be able to be where they're at with the grief process.
Well, and I think it benefits the parents, because they can
Yes.
have a second to just like to be
they have to
sad,
melt down if
like
they need to,
because you know how it is as a parent, you're constantly trying to take care and like
You
do,
are.
and it's exhausting. Like, it gives you a mental break too.
Yes.
But I think it's also good for the child, because
Yes.
they need to have some sense of normalcy and fun,
Right.
For them to assist in their
Yes.
grieving process too. So I think it's
Yes.
it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, so working that out, just and being there and just doing it, but working it, of course, especially with like the after school activities and making sure it's okay with the parents. But like working all that out is great.
Yeah.
Because that is hard, like having to drive places, all of that.
Yep.
Okay, cleaning was horrible for like 6 months, I
Yeah.
swear. Even when people would randomly stop by or drop things off, like I, would real quick throw stuff in closets. Like you weren't really cleaning because you didn't have the energy to. So just showing up, if you say like, I'm going to stop by, Saturday at this time, or whatever, like, are you going to be home Saturday? I want to drop something off. Well, instead of like showing up with your cleaning bucket and just being there and clean,
Yep.
like clean the kitchen, clean the floors,
Yeah.
clean the bathrooms, like, just take those 2 to 3 hours just to clean, because they don't have that bandwidth
Yeah,
to do it.
totally agree.
Yeah, or hire a cleaning lady if you can afford it. The fast food gift cards are awesome too.
Yep.
For sure, because
Nice
then they
quick
can just
option.
nice quick option. And then yard work.
Oh, mow that grass.
Yes,
Yep.
come over and just mow. Like you see, it's getting out. Like, of course, it's getting out of control. Of course, the weeding could be done. It's a nice day out. Just come over and do it for them, or
Yep.
if you know their schedule, whatever it is. But yeah, just those things, and that's really how you can be there and really support the family the way that they need it during
Definitely.
that time.
Yeah, and we have more stuff on our website.
We
Different.
do. Yep. We have different things on our website. Also, please reach out to us on our website. We do answer those emails that come through for all survivors, their support systems. We are here for the family. We are here to, help support in any way we can.
Yep.
So, well, that takes us to the end of this podcast. We are always with you, fertility, pregnancy, and baby loss survivors. Please know that, and tune in next week.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.